Hello and welcome to another episode of Eon Talks. My name's Pete, and so far in this series we've been exploring the world of augmented reality and the many benefits it can bring to you and your business. So far in this series I've had the absolute pleasure to be joined by a wide variety of different guests who have helped me to explain what augmented reality is, how this technology works, and how it's been utilised by many different businesses in many different ways. But for today's episode, we're going to be diving even deeper into augmented reality and really exploring the creative development process and how you can actually develop your own augmented reality experience. And to help me do that, I have the absolute pleasure to be joined by my good friend, Will Garman from Eon Visual Media. Will, welcome to the show, mate. So Will, before we kick things off, I was wondering if you could give us a bit of background as to who you are and what your role is at Eon Visual Media.
As you said, I'm Will Garman. I do animation and design at Eon Media, doing anything from sort of websites to animation, 2D, 3D, and of course AR, which is what we're here to talk about today.
Absolutely, but saying that, I mean, I think your experience with working with graphic design and animations, I'm sure that was tying quite nicely with your work on augmented reality as well.
Yes, yeah. It kind of you can do augmented reality in a number of ways, whether it be 2D or 3D. There's loads of options as to what you can do with it, and it's quite a new environment to work in. So yeah, there's lots of potential.
That's it, and I mean, since starting this series, I've seen quite a wide variety of different creative ways in which different brands and businesses have utilised augmented reality. And that kind of ties in quite nicely to my first question, because in a previous episode we were joined by Jack Milson from Eon Visual Media, and he was talking about how, flashback about 5-10 years or so ago, augmented reality was considered more to be more of a development process that handled more by development teams. But he was talking more about how, in particular with Eon, how creating augmented reality experiences is certainly more of a creative process now. So I was wondering if you could maybe elaborate a bit more on that and your experiences with that, but particularly on some of the more creative ways in which you've seen augmented reality being used.
You don't necessarily have to be able to code to be able to do it. The creativity element of it can be then tapped into by people like myself who aren't necessarily well versed in coding. But that allows for potential to really expand it beyond just a straightforward process or media item. It can be expansive into all sorts of creative niches. It can be quite abstract in that sense. It can break away from sort of just a regimented fashion and be used in all sorts of capacities.
So Will, for anybody who may be interested in creating an augmented reality experience for their business or for their brand, what would they need to be able to do that?
Well, firstly, they need an idea of where they would like to go with the brand. A client may have already created their product in a CAD-based software. If we get the right file types, we can make use of them in the augmented reality app or however you approach it. But again, that goes back to a thing. When I say about apps, you can go app based or you can go web based. There's so many possibilities with it. So again, it's just deciding what you want to do with it, what you want to deliver with your AR experience.
That's it. And I imagine with working in marketing, like most digital assets that you may create, starts off with that original idea, and sometimes, or certainly from the examples I've seen with augmented reality, sometimes brands will want to utilize it because they want to share a story, they want to promote their messages, their branding, their ethos, or sometimes they may want to utilize augmented reality as a solution to a problem. And again, as I'm sure it is with a lot of digital assets that are created by, I'm sure, Eon Visual Media and other creatives, it starts off with that initial idea. And like, if you can identify a gap in the market where you can utilize augmented reality, or as I say, if you just simply want to share and communicate your messages, that's probably the best way to start off.
Definitely. It definitely needs something that you need to speak to the audience. You need to give them a reason to do it. So knowing your brand again, or your business model, and what you want to deliver with AR just helps you that much more in understanding what your market would use it for, and then they'll use it.
Brilliant. So when you're at the beginning of a new augmented reality project, what are initially the first steps that you would take with a client when planning out their augmented reality experience?
Typically what we would do is we would understand what assets they have available, and then we could make plans, storyboard even, which is kind of a more traditional way of developing any project, such as like an animation or something like that. What we can then do is utilise that plan going forward, decide what sort of information they need to deliver, and help them along that process. If they kind of have a seed of an idea, we can help develop that a bit more if they need it.
So Will, since you've been working at Eon Visual Media, I'm sure you've worked on a wide variety of different augmented reality projects. I was wondering if you could maybe share some of your more memorable experiences, like working and developing AR experiences.
Yeah, so we've done stuff for a number of clients now. Anything from mode of action stuff to how to use and things like that. And another all-encompassing and probably more memorable experience, because it was one of our larger AR products, if you see what I mean. The Oran Plus product for Welland. We did a bit of a campaign around that as well. Again, that tied into a larger campaign, so utilising assets from and content from videos and animations that we'd done previous for the client. We ended up building this AR product for them, web-based, and that was tied to Apple products. So that's another thing that we need to bear in mind when we come up with these products, AR products for clients, is what target is it? Is it Apple? Is it Android? Apple allows for a few more elements to be added in, so a lot more interaction, whereas base Google products tend to be a bit more basic, sort of 3D panoramas and stuff. So again, we targeted Apple for Welland, and we could really get the most out of that environment, that development environment, when designing the AR product.
Yeah, because I mean, you mentioned Apple and iPhone devices.
Yeah.
We just recently saw the most recent launch of the latest iPhone in Apple's most recent keynote, and I haven't always noticed that, particularly with the last couple of iPhones, is that they do really emphasise on their camera technology. Particularly, I think one of the cameras may even be there particularly for AR experiences.
Yeah.
So it does sound like Apple are certainly jumping on the bandwagon to like be prepared for more engaging experiences in the future.
100%, and they're one of the core software developers and hardware developers that are really pushing it. They're kind of ripping down the development walls. You can do a bit of development in their software kit, but they really emphasise this ease of use. And you have to be able to make the most out of that, because sometimes with ease of use comes complexities in actually delivering more complex looking things. So you really have to sort of mix and match what you're utilising and what you're using to be able to deliver a really exciting product. So with Welland we offered a whole host of things, and we can retrofit that with different languages and different elements to it to really help them push their brand in other markets as well. So it's one of those things where it's just knowing what you're working with, and Apple, again, like I said, their software and development kit really allows creative people to utilise the technology
It sounds, and again, very similar to Apple in other aspects as a company. It sounds like they've really thrown down the gauntlet and set the benchmarks, and hopefully you'll see other people like Android, like Google, like hopefully following pursuit and catching up.
Yeah, definitely. I think I think the thing with smartphones is that they've kind of hit a pinnacle almost, and they seem to sort of stagnate. So it's what puts someone ahead of the curve and in the next best thing. And I do think AR really offers that option of unique experiences that you can't get on a website, that you can't get in it. It offers you a unique view, even if you're isolated, even if with COVID, for example, you can offer a product in someone's house so they can see what it looks like, a shopping experience like no other. It's those elements that really make it exciting. Yeah, and that's it. As we covered in the first episode, like augmented reality is that perfect blend in between real life and the digital world. So I certainly think we're going to see a lot more people, brands and businesses utilising AR as part of their day-to-day practices. Did you have any other examples of any other AR projects you've worked on? So we've worked on stuff for Gaviscon. So that would be mode of actions of how that particular medicine works. Again, that's a kind of mode of action thing where Gaviscon will go into the stomach and sell the stomach, and that was fully animated. That was kind of a bit more app-based, whereas obviously the Welland stuff not so much. And Bloom as well, we worked with Springfield Solutions to work on Bloom, and that was facial recognition. That made use of the web aspect of it, so we didn't need an app for it. It was all ready to go. Anyone can utilise it as long as you have a certain phone type. In that case, Apple. It was an Apple product, but again, it just offers so much more to that sort of sub brand. Just allowing people to have a bit of fun with it and take selfies and just exciting things.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned that the Gaviscon project you worked on, that was more app-based, but the Welland and Springfield examples there are web-based. Would you say that the future of AR is certainly moving towards the web-based AR experiences as opposed to the app experiences?
I would say so, yeah. Again, apps are very reliant on people actually downloading the app. And then how do you promote that? Whereas web-based stuff, you can literally put a QR code, a web address, something on your website that you click on, and it takes you to that experience, and you can use it right there and then. It maybe takes a few seconds to download the content, but it's good to go out of the box, and that really that kind of offers an opportunity for people to just temporarily download it. They don't need to download an app and then forget it's there and then it clogs up the phone. And we, like I said earlier, we optimize the content so it's quicker. It eats less data than your typical app. So it's really quite exciting stuff.
Brilliant. No, I couldn't agree more. I certainly think the future is AR.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Will, thank you so much for joining me today on Eon Talks. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here on the show. And for anybody else who wants to find out more information about augmented reality, make sure you check out the Eon Visual Media website and follow our social media channels. But until next time, I've been Pete.
And I've been Will.
And this has been Eon Talks. See you next time.